Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing something really quite special. We're stepping into the shoes of someone history barely even glances at a girl in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, someone often just invisible in the grand narratives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to unpack this great stack of sources. We've got articles, research, our notes, and really try to understand the path, the quite marked path, of a medieval girl's life. From birth right through to becoming a woman.
And we're not just listing facts here.
No, not at all. We want to pull out the really important nuggets, the key takeaways, and maybe some surprising bits too. This isn't going to be about kings or battles.
No.
It's about the quiet stuff, the endurance, the rules they live by, their prayers, the sheer amount of work, the everyday reality for these women. Okay, let's unpack this.
And what's so fascinating, I think, is how some of these experiences were just surprisingly universal, despite the huge gaps in status. Whether you were born in a little smoky peasant cottage or some, cold, drafty stone castle, the basic challenges, the expectations, even the small joys, they often have these common threads. Understanding that daily reality is just so crucial.
It really is. And what a reality. Our deep dive, it really starts quite literally with blood, childbirth. But it wasn't maybe the chaotic scene we sometimes imagine from films. Birth back then, it was very much a women's affair.
Absolutely. Kept very separate.
Yeah, the room would be prepared, maybe warmed if they were lucky, herbs steeping,
Yeah.
and the midwife called. Any man nearby. Usually told pretty firmly to wait outside.
And probably try not to pace too much.
Huh, right. And the setting varied hugely, didn't it? If you were noble, maybe tapestries on the wall, a brazier for warmth.
Nice, relatively speaking.
Relatively. For a peasant family, maybe just a cleared space near the hearth, straw on the floor. But the feeling, that must have been the same. Hushed, serious.
And definitely edged with fear.
Yeah, a lot of fear. The midwife was just central to all this. She didn't have shiny tools.
No modern medicine here.
No. What she had was knowledge, passed down generation to generation. Knowing to brew raspberry leaf tea for the pain, maybe burn bay leaves for the smell.
Practical things.
Very practical. And crucially, knowing when things were going badly wrong, when to send for a priest, because birth was just incredibly dangerous.
Staggeringly so.
Our sources say, 1 in 3 women died from it over their lifetime?
That's right, 1 in 3. And the babies, 1 in 4 didn't make it to their first birthday. Just shocking numbers.
It really is. And if the baby was a girl, the celebration was often quieter, wasn't it? Especially for nobles.
Oh, definitely. A boy meant inheritance, power, the family line continuing. A girl, well, she was valuable, but in a different way. As a future asset, maybe for an alliance or just for her labor.
It's that first quiet signal of her place in the world, really.
Indeed. And the church had a lot to say about it, too. The pain of childbirth. That was Eve's fault, apparently. A holy burden women had to bear because of original sin.
Right, I remember reading that. Almost like a spiritual duty to suffer.
Exactly. And for really tough births, they might bring in holy relics. A scrap of a saint's robe, a tiny splinter, supposedly from the true cross.
Wow.
Whatever they could get.
Wow. Desperate measures.
And if it looked like the baby or mother might not make it, the midwife might even do a quick baptism right there and then. Just water and the words to save the soul.
Priority number 1, salvation.
Absolutely. Then, the name. For peasants, often plain, familiar names: Alice, Agnes, Matilda. Maybe a local saint, maybe family tradition.
Nice, simple names.
But for noble girls, the name carried weight. Isabel, Eleanor. Chosen carefully to honor an ancestor or maybe signal a future alliance. It was strategic.
Everything was strategic for them, wasn't it?
Pretty much. Baptism followed fast, sometimes within hours. Cold church, cold font. Godparents weren't just about faith, they were about protection, connections for the future.
Practical godparents.
You could say that. Salvation first, celebration maybe later. And then 40 days after the birth, the mother had her churching ritual.
Ah, yes, the purification.
To be purified. Some women maybe found it comforting a way back into the community. Others, you can imagine, might have resented it. Like, my body just did this incredible thing and now it needs cleaning.
Yeah, I can see that. And infancy itself.
Yeah.
Just surviving was tough. They swaddled babies so tightly, didn't they? Arms pinned, legs bound straight.
They did. It was common practice. Believed to keep them warm, safe, and fascinatingly, they thought it made them morally upright, or at least obedient. Kept them literally straight.
Strange idea. And care differed too, right? That noble baby in a nice carved cradle, maybe a nursemaid.
While the peasant baby was probably in a simple wooden box, mom looking after her while trying to get work done.
And feeding. Peasants usually breastfed themselves.
Usually, yes. Noble women often hired wet nurses, and they were very picky about who they chose.
Oh.
Yeah, no bad temper, no loose morals, definitely no garlic breath. The belief was her milk literally shaped the baby's character.
Wow, so the wet nurse's personality transferred through the milk.
That was the thinking. Like a 5-star nanny review, but where milk quality determined your child's future personality. And weaning could be early, like 6 months sometimes.
Incredible. So as this little girl starts to grow, her path really splits off from her brothers, doesn't it?
Immediately. Boys were geared towards learning to read, maybe, or fight, inherit the land, or a trade. Girls learned, well, they learned to wait, didn't they?
To wait.
Yeah, to serve, to be chosen, to become what the family needed her to be. It's kind of sad how early it starts, even in their games.
Right, boys with sticks pretending they're swords.
And girls rocking dolls, pretending to sweep, practicing their future roles from day one.
And their paths diverged physically, too. A noble girl might be sent away, maybe as a lady in waiting somewhere else.
Exactly. Learn manners, needlework, maybe soak up some court politics. A peasant girl, though, she stayed home, learned baking, spinning, mending, praying, right alongside her mother.
And childhood was just short, brutally short. By age 7, you were basically a small adult.
Expected to work, expected to behave. That weight of responsibility at 7, it's hard for us to imagine.
It really is.
And it meant they learned all these unspoken lessons, things nobody wrote down in a book.
Like what?
Well, how to lower your gaze, how to keep your voice soft, how to manage a polite smile even when some older man is showing way too much interest. It was about self-effacement, really, a survival skill.
Survival, wow. And for the noble girl, those fancy dresses, they weren't just clothes.
Not at all. They were almost like a contract.
Yeah.
And her virginity, that was a major bargaining chip for marriage alliances. For a peasant girl, the real skill was practical stuff. Stretching food, calming a crying baby when she's exhausted herself, just keeping the peace.
Endless hardship.
Yeah.
But surely there were moments of lightness, joy.
Oh, absolutely. The sources mention it. Playing with siblings, the warmth of a dog, the smell of baking bread, stolen moments just to hum or dream. It wasn't all darkness.
That's good to hear.
Then came adolescence. And menstruation, the first bleeding. That was a big deal, but very private. Something learned about quietly from other women.
No sex ed classes back then.
Definitely not. Herbs were passed down, secretly sage, yarrow, mugwort to help with the pain. And there was this constant need to be discreet about washing and drying the cloths. Away from male eyes, gossip was dangerous.
So it added another layer of things to hide.
Exactly. One source called it an invisible ledger of what she must hide. It meant moving more carefully, speaking more guardedly. For country girls, it might mean new work, maybe tending sheep further away, which could be riskier.
And for noble girls.
Simple. She was now officially marriageable. The clock started ticking, loud and clear, towards her wedding day.
Unless she chose the convent. That was an alternative, right?
It was a way to avoid marriage, but definitely not an easy life. Strict discipline, endless prayers, manual labor, study. Even there, menstruation was kept hidden. Some women found peace, maybe intellectual freedom. Others surely felt it was just another cage, one made of stone.
So all roads pretty much led towards marriage. That seems like the major turning point.
Absolutely fundamental, and we have to get our heads around this. Marriage then was not about hearts and flowers.
Not a romance novel.
Definitely not. It was about property, power, survival. Pure and simple. For peasant girls, maybe mid to late teens, often marrying a guy for the land he had or might get.
Practical.
Very. For nobles, could be much younger, sometimes 14, just when she started bleeding. Legally, the age was 12, though consummation might wait a bit.
12.
Yeah.
Just a child. And dowries were key, weren't they?
Crucial, the bargaining chip. A noble girl might bring land, silver, fine cloth, serious wealth changing hands. A peasant girl, maybe a pig, a bed, her spinning wheel. Humble, but vital.
And if you had no dowry.
Fewer choices. A poorer match. Limited security. It really dictated your options, and they prepared for it intensely. Noble brides learned to be quiet diplomats, handle households, manage staff.
Like CEOs of massive estates.
In a way, yes. Peasant brides learned vital practical stuff. Keeping food from spoiling, stretching meals through winter, making and mending clothes. Essential skills.
And then the expectation. Children.
Paramount. and utterly terrifying. It was wrapped in both reverence and dread, as one source puts it. Your life could literally be the price of having a baby.
Reverence because of the Virgin Mary ideal.
Exactly. Motherhood was sacred, but it was also seen as paying Eve's debt for original sin, a strange mix. And sex education, forget it.
What did they know?
Maybe just blunt advice from older women like, don't move, it'll be over quickly, or it won't take long. Just functional.
Grim. And the wedding night itself, the bedding ceremony.
For nobles, that could be semi-public. Jokes, prayers, witnesses sometimes, even displaying stained sheets the next day as proof.
Oh my goodness.
For peasants, much simply, but the expectation was the same, the church's view. Sex was only okay for making babies. Wives shouldn't refuse their husbands. But they shouldn't enjoy it too much either. It's a real contradiction. Basically, in marriage, a woman's body wasn't really her own anymore. It belonged to her husband legally, religiously, socially.
That's a heavy thought.
It is. And the fear of dying in childbirth was constant, always there, yet. Despite all that, the sources do show real love between parents and children. Mothers used charms, prayers, relied on the wisdom of older women for herbs, anything to help their child survive.
So when a baby was born healthy, the joy must have been immense.
Absolutely. Real, heartfelt joy, even if it was always tinged with the knowledge that death could be just around the corner.
Stepping back a bit, it's so clear these women were the absolute backbone of the economy, not just housewives.
Not even close. They were farmhands, cooks, brewers, midwives, weavers, shepherds, mothers on top of all that, roof thatchers if necessary.
Their lives were just task after task, day in, day out. Survival.
Pretty much. A peasant woman's day. Started before dawn, getting the fire going, milking the cow, fetching water.
Hard physical labor from the start.
In brewing ale, that was women's work generally. Ale was the daily drink for everyone, even kids, because water was often dodgy.
So the alewife was actually pretty important.
Hugely important, a vital service, and it gave them some economic clout. Their labor kept the whole manor system ticking. Gleaning grain, weeding fields, spinning flax, gathering firewood, often with a baby strapped to their back.
And spinning. That was constant, right? Almost symbolic.
Totally. The distaff, the spinning tool, became the symbol of womanhood. They made all the clothes from scratch. Brewing ale, that was hot, sticky work, and risky. Get caught watering it down, you faced big fines.
Huh. Quality control.
Definitely. And food. Growing vegetables, herbs, baking bread, making that pottage stew where nothing, absolutely nothing went to waste. Their labor just held everything up.
It really did.
And even the kids worked early on, guarding geese, scaring birds off crops, hauling firewood. Girls learned housework from mom, boys learned farming from dad. Simple division.
What about noble women? They weren't exactly out in the fields.
No, but they were running massive operations, managing huge households, budgets, staff, food supplies, planning for dozens, sometimes hundreds of people. They were basically estate managers. Shrewd negotiators, too, especially when their husbands were away fighting or at court.
So powerful in their own sphere.
Definitely. And in towns, women were vital, too. Artisans, bakers, weavers, soap makers, brewers again. Lots were traders selling eggs, butter, vegetables. Widows often took over their husbands' businesses.
Showing real entrepreneurial spirit.
Absolutely. Guilds sometimes tried to exclude them, but women found ways. Reputation was everything, honesty, quality work, that was their currency. And being a servant, while tough, could be a way out of rural poverty, a chance to learn skills.
Amidst all this work, did they have any fun? Any creativity?
Yes. Festivals were huge, music, dancing, special foods, maybe some bright ribbons. Markets and fairs weren't just for trade, they were social hubs. News, gossip, advice, women connecting.
That's good. Connection is key. Okay, so given all this, how did they deal with the law? Justice must have been a maze for them.
A complete labyrinth. You had royal courts, manor courts, church courts, guild courts. A total patchwork. And justice was rarely straightforward. It was often elusive, partial, heavily swayed by your status, your gender, who you knew.
And women weren't really seen as full legal persons.
Rarely. Their rights were mostly filtered through men, their fathers, then their husbands.
Right.
Legally covered, they called it. Couldn't usually sue or testify alone. Widows were a bit different, had some fragile independence, but they had to fight for it.
So what happened in village courts? Local stuff.
Yeah, disputes over fences, maybe a stolen chicken, or someone being accused of scolding. Outcomes there really depended on your reputation, who your friends were.
Scolding, that sounds specific.
It was. The common scold was a uniquely gendered offense. Basically, punishing women who spoke out too much, challenged things, were seen as disruptive. Humiliating public punishments followed ducking stools, metal muzzles.
Just for speaking her mind. Horrible. So if they weren't full legal persons, how did they ever find a voice? Do they have any agency?
That's the crucial question. Agency often had to be indirect, subtle, sometimes surprisingly defiant. In serious criminal cases, being seen as pious or weak might get you leniency. But if you seemed proud or defiant, much more suspicion.
And the church courts dealt with morals.
Right. Adultery, fornication, slander, heresy. Punishments could be public penance, fines, even excommunication. If a woman had an illegitimate child, she might be forced into a humiliating public confession in church.
Public shaming.
Exactly. And then there were witchcraft accusations, sadly increasing from the 14th century. They disproportionately hit women, midwives, healers, widows often, brutal trials, torture, forced confessions. A dark chapter.
But did women ever fight back using the system?
Sometimes, yes. Amazingly, some wives actually sued their husbands' mistresses for damages, like an alienation of affection claim, turning the tables legally.
Clever.
It shows they learned how to navigate, when to push, when to plead, when to just let it go. There's a great example of a London woman, Agnes, charged 3 times for riotous speech, who somehow talked her way into lower fines each time.
Huh? Good for Agnes.
And outside the courts, there was unofficial justice. Petty revenge, you steal my grain, I steal your chicken. Threats, whispered deals to avoid court altogether. But the court, even if you lost, was a rare place a woman could actually stand up and speak, be heard, even for a moment, a tiny sliver of agency.
So beyond the daily grind and the legal maze, life had rhythms, right? The seasons, the church calendar.
Absolutely. The medieval calendar was punctuated by religious feasts, holy days. They broke up the monotony, brought people together. Celebration was vital.
And the church was at the very center of it all.
Completely. Its bells marked the time, its rituals framed every life event, birth, marriage, death, success or failure. It was all seen through the lens of God's will.
Christmas must have been special. Light in the winter darkness.
Huge. Special breads, carols, feasting, Easter, even bigger, the end of Lent, rebirth, spring, and loads of other local saints' days, harvest festivals, bonfires, stories, music, dancing, connecting this to their lives.
It feels like community was essential.
It really was. These celebrations strengthened those bonds, maybe softened old arguments, shared laughter, music. But even in festivals, death was never far away. The dance of death idea was everywhere death takes everyone, king or peasant.
A constant reminder.
Pilgrimages, too, they were tests of faith, but also adventures. People brought back stories. For nobles, religion was often tied up with status funding abbeys, commissioning art, showing off their piety and power.
And inside monasteries and convents, a different rhythm.
A spiritual rhythm,
Yeah.
prayer, work, study, producing those incredible illuminated manuscripts. But alongside all the formal religion, you had strong folk beliefs too. Charms like red threads on cradles.
To ward off evil.
Exactly. Wise women with herbal remedies, rituals that kind of blurred religion and magic, it all existed together.
Yeah.
And through it all, these women endured. Not as saints, not as silent victims, but as resourceful, practical, sometimes defiant people.
Finding little pockets of freedom and joy where they could.
Precisely. Finding those small spaces of freedom and joy in a world that didn't offer them much on the surface.
Wow. This deep dive, it really has shown the quiet courage, the incredible resilience of medieval women, hasn't it? Across all levels of society.
It really has.
Their lives, the ones usually left out of the big history books about kings and wars, they were the real heartbeat of the Middle Ages. So what does this all mean for you, listening right now?
Well, I think understanding this history shows us the long arc of human experience, doesn't it? The incredible strength people find when facing huge challenges. It makes you think, what does survival really mean in your own life today?
That's a deep question.
And maybe, how much do we owe to that quiet, uncelebrated resilience of all those who came before us? Perhaps the thought to leave you with is this. What small act of enduring courage might you notice in your own world if you really look closely?
A powerful thought.
And with that, for all those medieval women who worked and loved and endured, we can just end with that poignant phrase from the sources, sleep well.